Good afternoon. I'm at Port Noarlunga for another free dive, and again you'll note that I've got a filter on, so we're going to have a bit of a play with that today around the jetty where there should be some more fish. Now, as I get ready, shall I do it? Shall I do it? I'm contemplating whether to raise a rather controversial subject in diving. Diving in general, but even more so in free diving. The subject of solo diving, which is, yeah, as I say, it's rather controversial. It certainly used to be. Now, let me start from the beginning and say I'm very much in favour of putting some good risk management in everything I do, whether it's swimming, windsurfing, back in the day, sailboarding, then obviously scuba diving, cave diving, free diving, you name it. So I'm not reckless in anything I do, but I do think that risk management is a sliding scale depending on what you're actually doing. And I wrote an article, a scuba diving article on solo diving some years ago, when I felt that this subject should be addressed. And it's on my website, ozimpictures.com, and it's a 6,000 word article. I'll put the link in the description box below, and you know, make yourself a good coffee or something stronger if you want to read it. And to this date, all the feedback I've had with it is actually pretty good. So I guess my arguments, which are a lot more detailed in the article, but they kind of go around a few things. Diving solo need not be controversial, scuba diving solo, that is, as long as you've got the proper training and or experience, the proper equipment, which depending on the circumstance you're in may include or should include redundancy. You're diving in conditions you're familiar with, well within your experience levels, your comfort levels, and yeah, essentially if you're doing that, your spare equipment, your redundancy is your buddy. Okay, just about, well, not all, but most of the solo accidents that I'm familiar with, the really well-known ones, are actually accidents where the divers are buddied within the recreational system. They don't have lots of experience, and the buddy system breaks down, and then they class it as a solo diving accident, when in actual fact it's not. It's buddy diving, lack of experience, and the buddy system has broken down. Suffice it to say, some technical diving accidents where other things have happened. Yep, sometimes they're solo, and sometimes they're buddied, and perhaps they would have got out of trouble if they weren't. That is, one person causes a problem and the other one, well, it just spirals out of control. And from personal experience, every single close call I've had in diving has been with complications with a buddy. So that's not to say I don't like buddy diving and team diving when it's with a good buddy with good experience and we know each other, we know what we're doing. But diving with a bad buddy is not necessarily safe at all. To say it always is, I think it's a bit of a nonsense. So if you're interested in that and my 6,000 word article and all the little details I go into, I've never yet, as I said, had anything other than supporting comments. And to be fair, I was building my arguments on the arguments of others, so they have been around a while. Go to the website through the description box and the link, you can read it. However, what about free diving? This is perhaps even more controversial. And again, I don't think it should be, because I've certainly seen both your scuba divers and your free divers telling people one thing and being complete hypocrites and doing their own thing whenever they want at the same time. So the reality is every every scuba diver I know who's a professional has at some stage solo dived, and every free diver I know by definition has at some stage solo dived. But what's that definition? Well, it depends, doesn't it? There's a lot of people will make different definitions. Some organisations will say if you're going below 2 meters underwater, then you're essentially free diving, you're not snorkeling. Okay, so if you're in a 5 meter pool and you're going to the bottom, that's a free dive, isn't it, by definition? If you're diving off the jetty because someone dropped something off the jetty, like today, 7 meters of water, you go down and pick it up, all right? Someone just having a swim, that's free diving, isn't it? And so on and so forth. So where's that line in the sand? Because most people have done that. And if they say you haven't, they're liars. For me, again, the same arguments can be made. Notwithstanding, I understand that if you're in a pool, then the people running the pool are going to have to make rules in favour that basically it's about the lowest common denominator. They're going to assume that if people are doing breath hold underwater swims, that they might be doing it to maximum, might be doing training that's very hypoxic, and there might be more of a risk. So they'll put in some rules in place, and it's a legal basis. I get that. Same with charter boats. They'll probably insist you have a buddy if you're free diving. I don't have a problem with that. They got legal requirements. But to say that no free diver ever does solo dive is rubbish. I do it quite regularly, but I don't do it in all circumstances. So if I'm off on my boat, solo sailing, I drop the anchor in 5 meters of water and I want to go for a swim and I go and check the anchor, it's a solo dive, isn't it? If I go off the jetty and I'm having a look at the bottom, it's solo diving. As things get more complicated, then I want to bring in a buddy, but a buddy who can dive similarly to myself, a buddy who's got eyes on me if I'm underwater, a buddy who can see me. So if it's not good visibility and you've got a buddy, but they don't know where you are, what's the good of that? You might dive to your limits thinking that you've got someone watching you. In actual fact, you would have been safer diving within your capabilities by yourself. All right? So it's a sliding scale, I think. Today, I'm just going to go and have a little bit of a play, look at the fishes, not do anything particularly extreme. I'm just having a swim and I'll go underwater. I'm probably going to go down to about 7 or 8 meters. You can go a bit deeper in the channel, and I think the most risky thing there is actually boats coming in and out when they do. But I'm probably going to be around the jetty. So, yeah, it's a subject. Feel free to leave a comment in the description box. I know some people have pretty strong views. I've never been of the opinion that I want to tell other people what they want to do. Make your own decisions. By all means, put risk management in place. But for me, it's a sliding scale depending on what I'm actually doing. Well, visibility deteriorated once the water came over the reef, but still was quite a few fish around the jetty, probably because they're getting fed or something. But yeah, nice afternoon in the water.